Hey y'all. I wanted to start the show a little bit different this time by talking about an interesting encounter I had at work. So, for those who don't know, in my regular everyday job, I work at the airport in Birmingham. And as I was getting ready to get off, I saw a guy wearing an NWO t-shirt, and it was the Wolfpack t-shirt. I know today is 316 day, but I have to talk about this scenario. He had on a Wolfpack t-shirt, and I was walking by as he was sitting, waiting for his flight, and I went like this at him, and he said, "Oh yeah." That's the second one I've gotten within the past 10 minutes. And I was like, that's awesome. And so I just went ahead and just walked by him after that point and just felt good because it's always fun to run into wrestling fans out in public, no matter where you are, whether you're at work or whether you're out and about at the mall or something. Don't be afraid to yell at a fellow wrestling fan. If you see somebody wearing an Adam Cole t-shirt, scream Adam Cole, baby, and see if they react. Have a conversation, be friendly, but most importantly of all, understand that all of us wrestling fans are all just one big happy family. We just need to run into each other and meet each other. This is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers of Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers of Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers of Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us. I was kinda late, so I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah. You know how to go, hey, yeah. That's the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. Of course, excuse me, I just finished eating. Of course, if this is your first time listening to the show, thank you for joining the ride, and I hope you continue on this journey with me. And if this isn't your first time listening to the show, thank you so much for continuing to support your girl over these past 5 years. HWP is still celebrating its 5 year anniversary with a lot of new things coming on the horizon, so just stay tuned and stay put for those things. But either way, I am so happy to be before you. Of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of this fabulous platform, as well as HWP Extra, where I talk about other matches and specific moments and pay per views, as well as co host of Steph and Cat Talk Wow alongside my partner, Katrina from In Cat We Trust, contributing writer for Daily DDT. Go read my articles, and color commentator featured on the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, Black Girl Magic 2022, and Spartan Wrestling here in Alabama. And I am just so happy to be before you guys on this Sunday afternoon. I am so happy to have come out of the other side of this crazy storm. So, for those who are watching, or who may have seen the weather, or for those who are watching here in the state of Alabama, yesterday we had a big weather alert day. There was lots of tornado warnings around, and in the area of which I live, it was a very high level 5. Um, Tornado watch throughout the entire afternoon into the evening hours. But thankfully, nowhere around me was hit. And I'm so grateful for that because, oh my God, like tornadoes can be very destructive and very frightening. And sometimes, and all the time, they can be very dangerous. And there are people who have lost their lives here in this state multiple times over because of tornadoes. And you have to start over from the wreckage a lot of the time, but I'm just really grateful that that didn't happen with us on our side. We had power. We were still okay. But I'm sending love and prayers and good energy and good vibes to those who were deeply affected by those storms from yesterday. Because it's just not fun. It never is. And I'm just really um my heart is with you because it's just the toughest thing ever. But I just know on my end, everyone is doing all right. And I want to thank those who actually did reach out and ask about me and my peoples. And we're watching the weather along with me too. So thank you. And yeah, I'm here to talk about everything that happened in wrestling this week and all the news and gossipish. Because, of course, my last episode, if you didn't catch it, I did sort of forego talking about news and gossipish because I wanted to talk about Queen of the Ring. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about it today. But there is some stuff that I did want to address and talk about that's been going on in the wrestling world and in the wrestling streets this week. So, of course, we are going to start with news and gossipish. So, with this news and gossipish today, start by talking about this interesting clip that came out um, from BET. So BET, if you may or may not know, is Black Entertainment Television. This is a network that has existed for over, I want to say, 40 to 50 years, I want to say right about now. And of course, you know them as a channel. They also have a streaming service, but they're owned by Viacom. But a lot of what they do definitely leans into giving praise and giving credence to Black excellence and just different and bringing awareness to various issues that affect the Black community and all of the above. Well, something that they did, which was a huge surprise to me, was they made a post on Instagram talking about legendary ladies of the WWE because of course it is Women's History Month, and I guess they just decided to make this post as you can see like possibly on your right, on your left, whatever, however you're looking at the screen. Um, they had this Instagram post highlighting different women in WWE like Bianca Belair, like B-Fab, like Lash Legend, and Jada Parker. They even threw Mercedes Moné in there by her former moniker, Sasha Banks. And this really did make me happy to see because, I thought it was cool. But then, of course, BET took it a step further and created an article made an article that was written by Tyler Tynes, ranking the top 15 greatest Black wrestlers ever, from The Rock to Bianca Belair to Mercedes Moné, and number one wound up being Booker T. And I didn't necessarily have an issue with the list being made or with the post being made either, simply because I just honestly feel that I have always felt that networks like BET or networks like the Griot and stuff like that never really paid that much attention to wrestling as an athletic form when it comes to Black athletes. Even I was one of those people who, for the BET Awards, I always felt that they should nominate Black wrestlers for their sports person of the year, their sportswoman or sportsman of the year awards, but they never did. So the fact that they actually did acknowledge them with two forms of content made me really excited. I was like, okay, this is great. I'm glad that they're doing this because for years I have been wanting them to do it. And we've seen publications like Essence Magazine, which is very historically centered on Black women, highlight Black female wrestlers and stuff like that. So to see other entities that I read as a black woman actually acknowledge them made me really excited to see. But it did, of course, rub certain members of the wrestling community the wrong way due to the ranking of that article that Tyler Tynes wrote on BET.com. They felt like, Booker T was just a little bit too high, or they felt like Bianca Belair was a little bit too low. Some even decided to bring up the idea that the Rock as a form of culture might not have done as much in terms of Black culture, but does a lot with his Samoan culture because he's biracial and all of that things and all of that. And then for me, I really felt that it was just that the reason why I wasn't too upset about it is simply because I feel like this list and this ranking wasn't necessarily made for diehard wrestling fans. because a lot of the wrestling lists that we see that we hold in high regard, or at least personally for me, I hold in high regard, is the Pro Wrestling Illustrated list that they release every year for the men and the women, and also the one collectively that they put together, which is a 500. And then there's the Black Wrestling BRP 50 that they do every Juneteenth. Those are the two lists that I hold in the highest regard in my wrestling life, and those are the lists that tend to cause the most, you know, discourse amongst the wrestling community online. And my thing is, I just didn't really get too toe up about the BET one, because a lot of the people who might read BET content might not necessarily be diehard wrestling fans. They might just be the casual wrestling fan who remember Booker T, or who remembers The Rock, or who might remember Mercedes Moné when she was Sasha Banks, or might have seen any of the other women in passing online or in passing somewhere else, but never really like paid that much attention to wrestling in that way, the same way that we do as diehard fans. So that's the reason why I didn't get too upset about it. I'm just happy that they acknowledged them, and hopefully, when it comes to BET having more things like Black Girls Rock or more things like the BET Awards, they'll actually acknowledge them as athletes, because there's this underlying current when it comes to people in the Black community, where they still feel like wrestling is fake. And that's the thing that I would love for us as a community to get out of, because there are people who are currently working in wrestling who come from an athletic background. Like, you have Bianca Belair, who was on top in the SEC in volleyball, and also in track and field and so many other sports. You have Jade Cargill, who played basketball when she was in high school, and played other sports as well, and did bodybuilding. Like, all of this stuff feeds into their wrestling abilities. So the idea of wrestling being fake, when you're sustaining bruises, you're sustaining injuries, it's just a notion that has to end. So, with that in mind, I really would love for BET to actually get more African American people who know a little bit more about wrestling into it, while also at the same time respecting it as an art form, and also respecting it as a sport, just like football, basketball, tennis, and everything else. But big ups to them for doing that. I actually like the effort. I appreciate the effort, and hopefully more can come from wrestling and BET pretty soon. So, more of what's been going on in news and gossipish in here, we have Natalia. She is releasing an autobiography in October called The Last Heart Beating, where she talked about her journey from the dungeon to WWE. And on the cover of the book, she's in a wrestling ring, and she's carrying the SmackDown Women's title that she won from Naomi years ago, and the Divas Championship that she won back in the day as well. I I want to believe that maybe she was a tag team champion. I can't remember right now, unless of course I'm just making up stuff in my mind. But yeah, she's releasing a book, and it was announced this week, and I'm very excited about it. It's already gone to number one in terms of pre-sales, because like I said, it comes out officially in October. And yeah, I'm really excited to know what her story is, and just everything that she had to overcome to become basically the pillar of women's wrestling that we've known her to be for so long. Natty is someone who can never have a bad match. Like, if you want to succeed in women's wrestling, you have to have a match with her to see if you can truly make it, because she is just the bar. And I am just really happy that we're now having a chance to hear her story. I hate that it's not coming out until October, because, oh my God, I want to read this now. But either way, congratulations to her. I know a lot of people are really excited to hear her story coming through the dungeon, like a lot of men did, because she's the only woman to come out of the dungeon, because, of course, that's her family. So I can't wait to see or hear, what else she has to say, and everything that she went through, and all that she wants to accomplish even now as a veteran. So big ups to Natalia. You've always been that girl. You've always been the pillar, and you deserve this, like full on. She deserves this. Also, in news and gossipish, we have all of this praise that's been lauded onto Naomi and Bianca and Jade for their segment on SmackDown last week. Well, not last week, but the week before last. And of course, this is where Naomi admitted that she was the one who attacked Jade to Bianca. Everyone was crying. It was very emotional. It brought lots of feelings from people. Um, and it was just, and the report that came out via Fightful is that there backstage there was a lot of praise for how the ladies performed their scene and just how they brought real true emotion to what the scene was. And of course, if you have not watched it, I suggest you go on YouTube and look at it. But literally, these women brought their A game. They brought their acting chops and their true friendship and their emotion and everything into this segment to reveal Naomi to be the attacker. And over the past week since it happened, everybody has sort of been sharing their 2 cents as to how they feel um, about Naomi doing what she did. And of course, in that promo, she stated that, every time I start to clock in and focus on myself, all y'all turn on me. And at first, when I first heard it, I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Because I'm into the thing, right? But if you think about it, if you really like just think about everything she's been through when she wanted, even before she left WWE, even when she was healed the first time, and she kept trying to like gain opportunity. It just felt like people either just turned on her or just didn't pay attention to her and always underrated her. And it was years before she even won her first singles championship. Um Even then. And then of course once she left WWE along with Mercedes Moné, there were lots of people who just felt like, "Oh, well, she was just, being a brat and they just need to be grateful for what they got. And I don't know why she's doing this because she's not going to be nothing." Of course, she proved them wrong and made a name for herself with her own name and became, the face of the women's of the knockouts division in TNA and was the champion there until she decided to come back to WWE now as Naomi. And yeah, there's just so much frustration that could have been used in that segment that made it feel absolutely real. And yeah, it was just really good. So every bit of praise that they're getting for their performance, they absolutely deserve it. I'm so happy to see these women, these black women, kick all kinds of butt here. Um, and I just can't wait to see how the story unfolds further. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But I am very proud of Naomi, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill for everything that they do for black women in wrestling and just for themselves as a whole. And I will always be a supporter of them no matter what. So big ups to them. Then we had Emily Bett Ricard talking about making the news and making the rounds, talking about how she felt about playing Mildred Burke in the Queen of the Ring movie, which I did talk a lot about last week, but here I am to say this again. If you have not seen Queen of the Ring, go run and see it because it's inspiring and it's amazing. Please, please, please go see it. And this week, Emily went on to talk about, how honored she was to play someone who just exuded a lot of strength and a lot of, um, and just never giving up on her dreams, no matter what obstacles stood in her way. And I was just really happy to hear that she loved playing the role of Mildred Burke, who was definitely this real life person who had to go through so much to succeed as much as she did or as much as she could during that time as a woman in professional wrestling. So she brought a lot of gravitas and a lot of truth and realness to the role. And I just can't wait to see her in whatever else she decides to do. And if she decides she wants to get in the ring for real, then I support that as well. So Emily Bett Ricards, you did your thing when you played Mildred Burke, and I can't wait to see more of your acting career. I know you did a lot of stuff with Arrow on the CW at first, even though I had never seen that. But I just can't wait to see what she has in store for the rest of her career. Also, in a very surprising in a very surprising move, CJ Perry, who's formerly known as Lana in WWE, and Miro, who's formerly known as Rusev in WWE, got back together. According to TMZ, they renewed their wedding vows and they dissolved their separation and they are back together as a couple. And this surprised me, and I was absolutely thrilled by this because I'm just like, hey, sometimes you need some time apart to fully realize that, well, maybe I made this mistake, or we both made some mistakes here and there, let's try again. And I guess maybe that's what happened with them, and now they're back together. I always thought they were a lovely couple. It did surprise me at first when I found out they were a thing, and then they did get married. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But and I know there were some people who felt like, oh, well, she's too pretty for him and all that other stuff. And my thing is love. And when you spend a lot of time with a person and you get to know a person, like, it's about their soul, it's not so much about their looks. And I'm more than sure that they're both possibly beautiful people, who fell in love with each other. And hey, if they can make it work out the second time around, and hey, I'm all for it. So we support love here. So congratulations to Miro and CJ Perry. And I hope that it works out this time. And y'all stay together forever and ever and ever. And then just do the best that you can by each other. Because that was amazing to find out. Also in the news, we found out that WWE's Backlash, which is the pay-per-view that they have after WrestleMania, is taking place in St. Louis at the Enterprise Center on Saturday, May the 10th. Now, this is different because usually, well, in the past few years, Backlash has been overseas because they had it in Puerto Rico and then they had it in France last year. So now they're bringing Backlash back to the United States and it's going to be in St. Louis. And that was special for me because I hold St. Louis very close to my heart because that was where NWA Empower happened. And that was basically like the place that kickstarted my I guess you could say my interviewing career when it comes to stuff like that. Well, not really my interviewing career, but it just kicked off a level of exposure to things that I, never thought was really possible for me. So I'm just really happy that this is happening in St. Louis. So big ups to that city and that state for getting that pay-per-view. Um, yeah, go St. Louis because that city has a beautiful wrestling history and actually has people even now in wrestling trying to make it like Tootie Lynn and like Cameron Burnett, who is also on WoW as Ashley Blaze. And I said Tootie Lynn like she's not on WoW too, like Terror Strike. Um so I'm just really excited for them. Don't know if I'm gonna go yet. The jury's still out. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But big ups to Backlash happening in St. Louis. Also, let me just put it out there. Give Birmingham a PLE, WWE, please. We haven't had one in over 20 years. Please give us one, even if it's just a Saturday night's main event, if it's an NXT event, whatever. Come to Birmingham. Come to Birmingham. We're hungry. Give it to us, give it to us, give it to us, give it to us. But yeah, big ups to St. Louis. And also, in terms of cities getting pay-per-views, we had Survivor Series being internally discussed as being in the city of San Diego, California. That would be different because usually around Survivor Series time, that's November, so it's usually like cold no matter where you go. Last year they had it in Vancouver, British Columbia. Then the year before that they had it in Chicago because I was there because that was of course where hell froze over and CM Punk came back. So for it to be a possible warmer climate, sounds really interesting and really fun. So if that's the case, then I guess we'll just have to wait and see what that announcement is going to look like. But hey, Survivor Series in San Diego, Thanksgiving in San Diego sounds fun and tropical. Let's go. I like it. So big ups to that. I like the idea of that as well. So I think that's all for news and gossipish, as far as I know. And now we're gonna move into what Steph liked in wrestling this week. Oh wait, yeah. we're going to move into what I liked in wrestling this week. And we're going to start with Io Sky having her interview with Michael Cole because, of course, she was excited on Monday Night Raw after winning the Women's World Championship off of Rhea Ripley the week before. And she was just excited that she won the championship and now that she has a clear road to WrestleMania. But then, of course, Bianca Belair comes out because she won Elimination Chamber. So now she gets to face Io Sky for that title. But interestingly enough, if you were watching Monday, Bianca had on this blue suit and sort of like this white top, but then on her eye makeup, there were tears coming down. Like it was like streaming rhinestones. And you can see that she's clearly still emotionally distraught from what happened with Jade and Naomi. But of course, she's trying to refocus on her road to WrestleMania because Miss Ma'am is undefeated at WrestleMania as of now. So she wants to continue her winning ways there. But as she was talking to Io, and talking about how happy she was to face her, they get interrupted by Rhea Ripley, who decides to get in Bianca's face and talk about how, how she should have just focused on her business with Jade and Naomi as opposed to coming out and sitting and watching the match between her and Io last week. But Bianca was like, look, you're the one who didn't get the job done. So if it's anybody you should be mad at, you need to be mad at yourself. And as they kept fussing back and forth at each other, they get in each other's faces like this. But before they even got in each other's faces, every time Io Sky kept trying to interject, Rhea would mush her out of the way, and then Bianca would mush her out of the way. And I'm just like, hold up, y'all not gonna mush her and act like she isn't, the champion that both of y'all want to get a piece of. And because of that, Io Sky proceeded to slap the crap out of the both of them and yell at them, saying, I'm the champion. Y'all not gonna disrespect me. I'm the champion. I'm the champion. And I was like, you know what? I'm glad you did that because in any other circumstance, they both would have just been yelling at each other, and then Io would have, you know, and whoever would be the champion in that regard would have just stayed out of the way. But no, Io like made herself a part of the conversation because look, you heifers might be two of the baddest heifers that's ever existed, but y'all aren't gonna sit here and ignore me because I'm little, okay? Because I am still very much that girl, okay? And I was just really happy that she did that and stood up for herself in that way because no, y'all not gonna do her like that because y'all both are trying to get what I got. So, But either way, I can't wait to see how this turns out. Everybody is saying that it could be still very well could be a triple threat at WrestleMania. Because you got Rhea who still wants her title back. You have Bianca who still needs to, maintain her WrestleMania EST-dom. But then you have Io who just got the title and wants to keep it. So it's gonna be real interesting. But I really love that segment. Also, let me just say, after going to see Queen of the Ring, and I'm pretty sure I said this before, but going to see Queen of the Ring and seeing how Mildred Burke didn't get a chance to wrestle in New York at Madison Square Garden, but then fast forwarding to the today of things and seeing the women have a segment like this in Madison Square Garden with the title in the middle of the ring is the stuff of legends, and it's the stuff that you just cannot make up, and it's the stuff that you love because Mildred Burke set the foundation for what we are currently seeing. And with Raw being in Madison Square Garden, I couldn't, and also with NXT Roadblock being in Madison Square Garden, I couldn't just ignore that because I was just like, man, it's so interesting how that was a part of the film. And then now we're seeing the benefits of that in the here and now. We praise God for growth. So, yeah, I love that. I love that so much. But yeah, it was great. Now, I know this has nothing to do with the women, but in this segment, you had um Dominic, I guess, sort of pulling some strings for Finn Balor to get an IC title match with Braun Breaker. And you see how Dominic is sort of looking at him and hugging him, right? But after this, Liv Morgan, I wasn't able to find a picture of Liv Morgan saying this in this specific promo, But when Dominic said something to Liv, Liv was like, "Whatever you say, Daddy Dom." And when I tell you I wanted to throw up, the 2015 me, the 2025 me rather, wanted to throw up because I'm just like, you know what? I feel like that's the exact reason why he keeps Liv around, because Liv just goes along with whatever he says. And that's just the type of behavior that I just can't stand, because if your man is having a bad idea or doing something trash, you better call him on it immediately. Have your own mind. Do not say, "Oh, whatever you say. Oh my God, babe, can I?" No, no, no. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I just can't stand it. So that part just kind of made me just feel some type of way in my womanhood. I was like, when she said, "Whatever you say, Daddy Dom," I was like, uh yeah. So that just kind of took me off here. And also, let me just say the Judgment Day is really about to fall apart in ways in which we just have not seen before. And we've seen them move people around, but I really feel like we're going to get some movement in this Judgment Day that's going to be nuts. And I'm not prepared for any of it. But either way, it's going to happen because Dominic just doesn't know how to be a good guy. He doesn't know how to be loyal. Because if he stabbed Rhea in the back, what makes Finn think that he's just going to be faithful to him? Mm-mm. You see those bad intentions back there. But I guess this is a good way to segue into the men. Logan Paul, even though I missed this segment between Logan Paul and AJ Styles and Andrew Schultz back there, let me just say, finding out that Logan Paul said that he would have sold his soul to The Rock made me feel a certain type of way from a rich get richer standpoint. Because and even the men said the same thing on SmackDown. He was just like, you should have just. He was just saying to Cody, you should have just took my advice and actually just sold your soul to him and blah 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 blah. And I'm sitting here like, what else do you not have? What else do you have to gain from selling your soul to The Rock? When it comes to people like Logan Paul, or when it comes to people like The Miz, y'all already have all the fame and all the money and the family and all this other stuff. What else would you have to gain from that? Just being champion? And if you claim you are as good as you say you are, you should have been champion by now without the help of the final boss and selling out to him. So I guess maybe that would be it. But my thing is, if that's the only thing you're selling out for, then that says a lot about how you see yourself as an athlete. Because what else would you have to gain from selling your soul to The Rock? It's like the rich get richer mentality. It's like, "Oh, well, I already have all this, so let me just get more." Like, baby, bye. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it today. That just irritated me. I was just like, for what? Just move over there. Just go over there, please. Just go over there. But I've given him enough attention as it stands. Um, Now let's move to people who actually do deserve my attention. That's this tornado tag team match between Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee of the LWO going up against the New Day. Let me just say, I love the New Day's new theme song, even though they broke my heart into pieces. Um, and it's not my last resort. They really broke my heart. But I do love their new theme song. And they had a really good tag team match with Ray and with Dragon Lee. It was very action packed. They were fighting all over the ring and even outside of the ring. Um, like it was just a really crazy match. But then where it came down, where it all broke down at was when you had this masked dude who had on like this big American flag lucha mask on and interfering, and then security threw him out, but then folks was trying to pretend like it wasn't Chad Gable, but it really was Chad Gable. We are not stupid. It was just that was where it broke down at. He interfered and the New Day took advantage of that. But there is something else funny that happened during this match off camera that I did want to discuss. Now, Kev on stage, who probably should have gotten a highlight when they were highlighting all of the celebrities at Raw, with the some he really is somebody who deserves the most attention. Kev on stage is a comedian, and he does a lot of stuff online, and he's a stand-up comic, and he's someone that I have been watching since college with him and his brother. Rest in peace to his brother. And the Playmakers, they would just do all kinds of skits about the black church, and just black culture things and stuff like that, and they are just so funny. And I'm just so happy to see his growth up until this point, and just to see him getting back into the fold of being a wrestling fan. He actually had an exchange with Xavier Woods before the Tornado Tag Team match. And Xavier Woods found him and yelled at him and said, "You're not even that funny. And Churchy is a stupid show." And I was like, oh my God, why would you say that to him? That's so terrible. But of course, Kev on stage took it in stride and they were all laughing. Kev would also go on to sing a churchy version of Jay Uso's theme song. It's just me, Us. And that was really funny too. So it was really good to see Kev on stage and his wife Melissa being there and being in the getting more into the wrestling landscape. And I just love it. So yeah, that was really cool. And hopefully at some point he could come on my show. I have tried to get in contact with him and his people, but we just have to, I guess stuff just has to line up. But either way, um, Kev on stage deserved more attention than that other guy got, but we're just gonna sit here. But we're just gonna leave that alone. Big ups to Kev on stage. So then we had Cody Rhodes come out and cut a promo amongst the New York crowd. And something about the New York crowd that never ceases to amaze me is that they definitely have their own personalities. It's like you have the part of the New York crowd that was happy to see Cody and was rooting for him. But then the more he kept talking about John Cena, the more you also had other people actually rooting for John Cena. And that made me sad because I'm just like, bro, did John Cena not break y'all hearts, or were y'all just okay with the fact that he turned heel? New York, New York, guys. I mean, they just have their own personality and they never fail no matter what. But big ups to my friends up there in New York because I love y'all all the way down. But either way, either way, Cody Rhodes came out there and cut a very impassioned promo um about how he is ready to face off with John Cena and ask him why he did what he did. And he was also prepared to tell him that John Cena's 17th championship is not going to happen as long as he is here to be, the opposition to that. And then Cody proceeded to say, "You're going to realize at WrestleMania 41, I'm the captain now." Which, of course, alludes to the fact that Cody Rhodes always sort of looked up to John Cena as being the face of the company and sort of wanting that level of trust and wanting that level of fame in terms of a wrestling promotion. And he looked up to him in that way. He drove him around when they were touring together back in the day before Cody of course left, and he just always saw him as a friend. So clearly Cody is having these feelings about him selling out to The Rock, beating him up, just so he could have a 17th title. Cody is really out here about to prove, he is out to prove that I am the guy now. WWE, I am the face of WWE. I am the baby face that you claim to be for all these years, and I'm going to beat you. Yeah, Cody is being very serious now, and I really appreciate that. He got even more serious Friday night, too. So I can't wait to see more of what's going to happen because Cody and John Cena are going to be in the same building tomorrow on Raw on Netflix because they will be in Italy. And it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there. Are they going to brawl? Are they going to talk? Are we going to get any answers as to why John did what he did? Will John Cena say fine speech? Will Cody Rhodes cuss him out? Like, we just don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just really excited about tomorrow. Then I get to watch it. in the afternoon. So for those who are watching me, please know that Raw comes on at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central on Netflix. It does not come on at night, but of course, if you want to watch it later, then do that. But it comes on in the afternoon because of the time difference, because they'll be in Italy. We're over here in the US. It's different. So, watch it then. And stay off Twitter because they will spoil stuff if it comes on at an earlier time. They will spoil things and not care anything about it. Stay off Twitter and stay off Facebook if you can help it, if you want to avoid spoilers, please. Because Friday night was a mess, but we'll get into that later. So that was, well, no, that's not all that I liked from Monday Night Raw. Um, this steel cage match between Seth Rollins and CM Punk was pretty fire. I kind of felt that maybe CM Punk was going to win simply because at this point he's about 2-0 in steel cage matches since he's been back. He did well, actually no, he's not 2-0. He's like 2-2 I think at this point. When it comes to steel cages, because he beat Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell. He won in War Games last year, but then he lost this steel cage and then he lost Elimination Chamber. So yeah, he's 2-2 in steel cages. But when it comes to craziness in the steel cage, I would still go for CM Punk over Seth. But either way, both of these men fought tooth and nail. There was a point where I thought that maybe they were going to fight each other and punch each other on top of the cage and maybe fall off like Mick Foley style, but that didn't happen. The drone shot was getting an amazing shot of them, just flying around the arena and everything. But the thing that definitely kept me locked in the match was watching them use each other's finishing moves to try to get the upper hand on each other. Like at one point you had CM Punk hit a curb stomp. At another point you had Seth Rollins trying to hit a pedigree, which was even crazier, but then also trying to like hit like a go to sleep on CM Punk, but he refused to give up. Like it was just really like a good back and forth. And then of course, because these two hate each other and loathe each other so much, they were flipping each other off. They were flipping each other off the entire time, and they kept blurring it out. On our Netflix, they kept blurring it out, but some people were able to see it, and I was just like, man, I respect the fact that these two might not truly like each other anymore, but they still put on a great match. Because in other forms of entertainment, there might be people who will be like, "Oh, well, I don't like you." I don't like you either. And then they just start, and then they feel like they can't work with the person. At least these two actually put their hate somewhere. Use your spite. Now, mind you, I'm someone who tries really hard from a human perspective to not do that, but sometimes you really do have to put your anger inside of something in order to be productive, because if you just have it and it just sits inside of you, it can eat you alive and destroy you. So at least these two men can put their differences and create art from it. So that's the things, those are the things we love, and they had a great match. Now the way this match ended, however, was something I did not expect. Roman Reigns. Okay, that's not Roman Reigns. That's CM Punk flipping the bird. Please don't demonetize me. But yeah, Roman Reigns came out there and snatched up Seth Rollins out of the cage, which allowed him to win the match. And he starts beating up on him because, of course, we have not seen Roman Reigns since he got the crap beat out of him and he got double curb stomped by Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble last month. So he comes back. He has beef with Seth Rollins immediately. He snatches him out the cage and proceeds to beat the crap out of him. So as he's focused on beating the crap out of him and then curb stomps Seth freaking Rollins onto the floor, the camera pans over and we see Paul Heyman helping CM Punk. And Roman Reigns, y'all know how possessive he is over his folks, did not like this. So he walks in there, he starts smiling with that diabolical, gorgeous smile of his. And he's just like, this isn't what I think it is it? And it is. So he goes in the cage, beats up on CM Punk as Paul Heyman moves out of the way. And then he puts his one up, and that's where Raw ended. And baby, the plot is thickening. Here's another triple threat we might be getting at WrestleMania. But this plot is really thickening when it comes to the Paul Heyman side of things because we still don't know what this favor is that CM Punk has with Paul because he was the OG Paul Heyman guy. So, I mean, and another person, but we're not discussing him right now. So, what does this mean? Does this mean that it's possible that Paul could turn his back on Roman again? Does this mean that Paul could work for both Punk and Roman? But at the end of the day, we still know how possessive Roman can be. So I don't know. It's getting crazy. It's getting really crazy. But Raw on Netflix has been hitting on all cylinders on this road to WrestleMania, and I just can't wait to see what happens there. But moving into the NXT roadblock side of things of what I liked in wrestling this week, I loved, I love, I love Jordan Grace and Roxanne Perez and their match. Like it was technically sound. It was very spiteful. They were beating each other up to a bloody pulp. Not a bloody pulp, but they were beating each other up like really bad. There was one point where Roxanne actually had her fingers in Jordan Grace's mouth. It was pretty funny, but I was really happy to see them have like an actual conclusion to this match because if you remember the last time they fought each other, for the NXT Women's title, it had a screwy finish with Ash by Elegance throwing from TNA in there, and that made me mad because I was just like, "Bruh, like this match didn't need that. Like, let these women just fight each other straight up." But this time they did it without a title on the line, and it was absolutely incredible. And Jordan Grace won, so I was just really happy about that. So this match was fantastic. Roadblock was just a 10 out of 10 pay per view. You're going to realize it the further I go into talking about it. Because when I was putting together the outline for this show, I realized that I was talking about everything that happened in this episode of NXT. Because usually I try to pick out certain parts of episodes of wrestling shows. But this time you're going to really notice that it's everything because this whole episode of NXT was fire from top to bottom. But yeah, also when it comes to the women, in the main event, we had Julia, you know, I'll never make a fool of ya, fighting against Stephanie Vacour, my name twin, my second favorite women's wrestler of all time at this point. Um, Fighting for both championships, fighting for the NXT Women's and the NXT Women's North American title. Winner takes all. And like I said, this was in the main event and it was definitely worth it. It definitely felt like one of those matches that you would see in Stardom or you would see in New Japan where they're fighting for like all the gold at a certain point. Um and of course, it did happen in WWE with the first ever WrestleMania women's main event with Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Ronda Rousey, where Becky Lynch won everything. And you also can't forget Mandy Rose and how she won both the NXT Women's and NXT UK Women's title against Mako Satomura and Blair Davenport, I believe, B. Priestley. Um, and then of course you also have Saraya slash Paige, who was a Divas champion while who won the Divas championship while she was the first ever NXT women's champion. So there have been their women's doubles champions before. But this was really cool to happen here again in Madison Square Garden, like I mentioned before. And this match was absolutely stellar. Julia and Stephanie had each other scouted throughout the entire match. There was one point where Julia actually did that head scissors banging thing that Stephanie does a lot that I did see Charlotte Flair do first. But either way, it was really interesting to see them both sort of, you know, have each other's number in that way because they know each other so well. But in the end, my Stephanie won both titles. So now Stephanie Vakura, the Dark Angel, is now both the NXT Women's and NXT Women's North American Champion. And I was absolutely thrilled because she was somebody who I was impressed with when I saw her wrestle Mercedes Moné. Um, I had never really heard of her before up until that point. So I was just like, okay, so let me see what this match has to offer. And I do have an HWP extra episode about her match versus Mercedes Moné for the New Japan Strong Women's title. So if you haven't watched that or listened to that, please go and find it. But either way, she was somebody I was impressed with from that point on, and I have been following her ever since. So when I found out she was coming to NXT, I was just like, okay. And this was right after she fought Mercedes in AEW at Forbidden Door. So I was like, okay, let's go. So she makes it to NXT. She has really great matches. And of course, she catches everybody's attention because she is such a beautiful girl. Like she's so beautiful, so beautiful. Top to bottom, just a gorgeous, gorgeous girl. But then on top of that, she's also overcome a lot as well. Look up her story. Um, and so to see her having tried out for WWE before and then go around the world and turn herself into the premier luchadora and now see her with both of these titles in NXT, which you can argue has one of the best women's division hands down. It's just incredible. And it's just really cool because she has my name. It's just really amazing. I love Stephanie Vaquer so much, and I'm just so happy for her. Like this really blessed me. I was just really glad. So maybe I can cosplay her at some point. Maybe we can figure that out. But either way, Stephanie Vaquer, you are a double champion, and I love that for you. And big ups to Julia. I did see somewhere that she might be injured, so I hope she heals up fine. But either way, Stephanie Supremacy is here. Woot woot. And she won, so I'm glad. Congrats. And we had this moment, which I know people have, including myself, have feelings about Jada Parker and what she said in terms of trans people or trans women in sports. Um, she had this moment with Mickey James backstage, who was giving her encouragement, to just take what's hers. And I guess, this was a really good segment because I love seeing Mickey James feed into the future of women's wrestling. And Jada really is someone that they are investing in as the future of women's wrestling because she just has so much attitude, so much flair, and just so much athleticism. She really is someone you just can't take your eyes off of. And this moment was really nice. But I do just, want to take the time out to say that I just feel that, I just want Jada Parker to continue to succeed and not trip herself up. And that's just all I have to say. Because, yeah, you can share your opinion and you can say how you feel about certain things, but you also have to be cognizant of how you say stuff. So, yeah, I just hope that she continues to thrive and not um trip herself up when it comes to saying certain things or just, being brash about certain things as well. Because there's a community of people that could have rooted for you that aren't rooting for you now because you said what you said. So I don't know. But either way, Jada is here to stay and she is going to be successful no matter what she does. But let's just remember to just be loving and kind to those who are different and, trying to make their way in the world without having to deal with so much crap. So, yeah, this was a great segment overall, though. And then moving into the men of NXT, another two sets of people who share the same name as me won in a big way in Roadblock. Stephanie Vaquer is a double champion. And the Hardy Boys beat Fraxium to retain their TNA tag team titles. which means that they could very well want to challenge for the NXT Tag Team Championships at some point. And this made me happy because I'm just like, look, I've been a Hardy Boys fan forever. Okay. Those are my brothers from another mother. I know they don't know that I exist. Hopefully at some point I can meet them. But either way, I was just this tag team match was fire. I feel like it's impossible for Fraxium and the Hardy Boys to have a bad tag team match ever. And these two put on a heck of an opener for Roadblock. I was really excited to see them, face off against each other the way that they did. And yeah, I actually would not mind the Hardy Boys being the ones to take the NXT tag team titles off of Fraxium, considering they had that little hiccup. Um, they had that little hiccup where I believe Axiom accidentally kicked Nathan Frazier, which caused them to lose the match. I was just like, okay, um, are y'all okay? What's happening? So I guess we got to wait and see what happens there. But either way, Team Hardy, Team Stephanie came out the victor. Team Stephanie, Team Hardy came out the victor. That night. Eh. It's a fun time to be me. It really is. No, like, no cockiness at all, but it really is a fun time to be me because, yo, yes, it's cool. So, moving forward, yeah. Moving forward, we also had Obafemi before his match with Moose for the NXT Championship have a moment with Mark, aka the Undertaker, and this was a pretty good moment as well. Outside of how we've seen the Undertaker act in terms of where he lands with politics and things, it was still really interesting to see him have this moment, big man to big man with Obafemi, because of how dominant he is and how people really feel like he is a star in the making, or really just a star anyway. So this was really like special in terms of that type of logic. So it was really great to see him have that moment with him before that match. And Opa would go on to have a really sick um match against Moose. Moose was someone who I had definitely heard about but hadn't really seen wrestle all that much. So to see someone as big and as large as Moose moving the way that he was moving, in terms of his quickness, was really impressive. So that was really great. So big ups to Moose and for Oba for having a match like that. But at the same time, Oba is just the ruler, and he was not letting that championship go no matter what. So big ups to Oba for winning that match. And yeah, it was cool. So this is Oba's world and we're just living in it. And I love the match between Javon Evans and Ethan Page. It was a New York City street fight, and I just appreciated the fact that the match ended with Javon Evans possibly breaking the jaw of Ethan Page with that DDT into a chair. I was like, yes, get your lick back. But what made me sad was that he couldn't even celebrate his win that often because you have these renegades running up on people and attacking them out of nowhere. And I'm just like, what is y'all purpose? What is the point of y'all doing this? Like, why? And why is it that y'all masks keep falling down if you don't want us to know who you are? Like, it's making me sad because I believe this Tuesday one of their masks fell down and I could see that it was Dion Lennox. And I was just like, God dang. And it's just like, when are we gonna figure out what their purpose is? I can't wait to figure it out. But at the same time, why couldn't you let Javon enjoy his win? Like, he had been beefing with Ethan Page for a minute over breaking his jaw and stuff like that. And then he finally gets his win, and only for him to get jumped. Come on. But sad face. But that was pretty much all that I liked from NXT Roadblock. But to move into the women's division in AEW, they have a lot of cool stuff going on with their women, and their women's division um deserve is should be, I feel like, should have their own show. Um or at least Ring of Honor should definitely be back on television. And I really thought that Rampage, if Rampage was going to be anything, if it wasn't going to be taken off, should have been an all female show. But that's just me. But either way, I feel like their women's division is has an embarrassment of riches. And one of those embarrassment of riches, actually two in this picture, is Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm, who is still the AEW World's Women's Champion. And, she cut a promo talking about how she wants all these women's keys to be shaken up in a bowl, and talking about how she isn't a pussy, even though, she can get beat up on and everything. And that was pretty funny. But she gets attacked by Miss Megan Bain, who is just this large, gorgeous woman who just got signed to them. And she has been on a rampage, no pun intended, to make a statement in the women's division. Um, After Tony Storm even called out Mercedes Moné in her promo, which is interesting because there's a part of me that wants Mercedes to challenge for that title specifically, because sometimes it just feels like there is always a lack of black women challenging for that title or has a chance at that title, and then they either lose or they just never contend for it, and it just bothers me. So I want Mercedes to actually challenge Tony at some point. I don't know if it's going to happen after she loses all the other titles she has or what, but either way, I want Mercedes and Tony. I feel like I want Mercedes and Tony almost as much as I want Mercedes and Athena, but we'll get there in a minute. But Megan Bain went on a rampage this past Wednesday throughout the entire women's division. She knocked out Tony Storm. She even knocked out Willow Nightingale after her match with Penelope Ford. And she's just been attacking everyone. And it's just kind of, crazy, but at the same time, it's a good way to make a statement. And I can appreciate that. But then also, in speaking of Mercedes Moné, she could barely cut her promo. And she had Renee do the say hello to your CEO part because she had bruises on her throat from when she was attacked by Momo Watanabe in their match at Revolution for the TBS title. Of course, Mercedes Moné won because that's what goats do. And she gets challenged by Billy Starks, who she's had a couple of run ins with. And of course, if you know Ring of Honor lore, Billy Starks is one of the minions of Athena. So she's been wanting to challenge Mercedes for a while. She's looked up to Mercedes, and there are even pictures of her online as a little kid meeting Mercedes as Sasha Banks back in the day. So she challenged her for the TBS title next week, and I'm pretty excited about this because I want to see if this could possibly lead to Mercedes versus Athena, because I feel that Mercedes and Athena never really had a good go of it in WWE, and they should have, because both of these women are fantastic. But because they have both grown by leaps and bounds since they were in WWE together, we can probably get a match of the year candidate from those two women. I've written about it. Um, I wrote about it in one of my articles with Daily DDT, stating that Mercedes Moné is the woman who could take the title off of Athena. So we just have to wait and see what happens there. But either way, I'm really excited to see what Billy Starks has in store for Mercedes. I hope that this could very well lead to Athena being on AEW television more, because a lot of people have been pushing for it for the past couple of years. And the fact that it hasn't happened yet is just really insane. So, well, it has happened, but it only happens like every now and again. Athena deserves to be on AEW television a whole lot more. So hopefully this could lead to that. And I'm excited. So, yes, I'm really pumped about that. So, the women's division in AEW is definitely heating up a bit. And then, of course, I just want Willow Nightingale to have the entire world at her shoulders. Give Willow Nightingale everything, please. Because if she's not the one to take the TBS title um off of Mercedes Moné, I just want her to win a world title at some point because she is just that girl. Willow is a baby face among baby faces. She's on the level, I feel like she could very well be on the level of what Bailey was in NXT, and there's just so much more that I just want her to have. So give give Willow Nightingale the world. Please, please, please give her everything. So that was pretty much all that I liked from Dynamite. Like I said, women's wrestling is on fire everywhere, and I'm just really excited about that. And I'm gonna try and do my best to do better at watching AEW and other shows. It's just that sometimes I just get very tired from work, tired from other wrestling work, and all of the above to the point to where I just can't catch everything all at once. So it's not that there's any beef or nothing. I just life be lifing and I just be tired and burnt out or whatever and working on other stuff. But please charge it to my mind and my body weakening on me and not my heart because my heart loves this. So, yes, I'm just really excited about women's wrestling as a whole everywhere. And AEW is definitely, on point with their stuff. Now, to move to SmackDown, they had SmackDown in Barcelona, Spain. And this was the first SmackDown to ever happen there, which is really crazy to think about because Barcelona is a big city. Like, that is a really big city. So, the idea that that was their first time there having a SmackDown just blew my mind to bits last night. But let me just say this, it meant the world to me to look at all the places that they had been to in Spain because I have actually been to Spain before. Like in 2014, I was blessed to go on a study abroad trip with my college concert choir, the Berea College Concert Choir, to Spain. And the trip was to Spain and Portugal, but I didn't do the Portugal part because I was going to Ghana afterward. But either way, to see them go to the Sagrada Familia, which is a church that Antony and Gaudi had designed that they're still working on, which might not be finished. Probably, I'm not entirely sure when it's going to be finished. But yeah, like either way, for them to be at that church, where I actually sang at with my choir, and actually, walked the streets where we walked around and stuff, and saw the culture and everything, it meant a lot. And it's just like, Spain is just a really beautiful city. And these are a couple of pictures of me back then in 2014 in Spain. I was soaking it all in. I just enjoyed my time there, and hopefully I can make it back to Europe at some point. But yeah, if you have not been to Europe, I do suggest that you do go to Spain. Spain is really cool. Big brush up on your Spanish, but the people will help you if they can tell that you're not from there. Um, just soak in everything because it's just really, really cool. And that's us, the concert choir, singing in the Sagrada Familia Church. Shout out to Dr. Marcus Kitchens for having that picture taken while we were singing. I wanted to give him credit for that because I found this on Facebook. It was just an amazing time. And back there, you can see my head in the pearls. I had short hair. But yeah, it was such an amazing time. I love Barcelona. It was such a great time to be there. So it was really cool to see SmackDown there. So moving into the wrestling side of things, B-Fab had a match against Charlotte. And the thing that I love about her entrance is that she was speaking Spanish to the people while also talking about, everything that she brings to wrestling. And I enjoyed that very much because there is just B-Fab to me gives off, I'm a model and I am cultured and I am, oh, look at me, I'm a woman of high taste and look at me, da 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 da. And that's just what she gives to me whenever I see her. She's just a woman who's just been everywhere, done everything. Like she's like a super upgraded, fabulous, a more fabulous version of Cruella Deville, but just not on an evil level. Like she is just a woman of high class and high taste, and I liked it. And that's what she was giving in that promo before she fought Charlotte Flair. But then Charlotte comes out here with her peacock feathers, and I was just like, "Girl, gag me! You look amazing." Charlotte Flair has just been serving look after look after look and slay after slay since she has come back. And I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough of it. Charlotte Charlotte has been on our necks since she's been back. And it's just like, Charlotte, help us. Stop it. Like, give us some clues. Give us the tips. Please, because I want to be as fabulous as she. Cause if I was walking around in a robe like that, you couldn't tell me nothing. I mean, nothing at all, honey. She just, oh, it's disgusting, but in a good way. Like, girl, kill it. And they killed it in their match with each other. B-Fab, for someone who does not have like the years of wrestling that of course Charlotte Flair has, she brought her A game as much as she could against Charlotte, and it was really good to see B-Fab try in that way, because of course it's like I always say this, yeah, you might fail at a thing, but you fail even harder when you don't try. And even though a lot of people might be talking trash about B-Fab, the way I see it, at least B-Fab had the fortitude to try. And in life, you just don't know what can happen if you don't try. And she tried. Even though she lost, she tried. And that is the best thing for her, because how else are you going to know how to improve and how to do better if you don't try? That's what she did. So, as we move forward in the rest of this whole segment, after Charlotte Flair made B-Fab tap out with her figure eight, Tiffany Stratton comes out and starts a fight with Charlotte Flair as the figure eight is still locked in. They finally break them up, and then they finally get to fighting and tussling with each other. And I was so happy to see this because Charlotte has been taking advantage of Tiffany being laid out by other people and even jumped on her herself. So to see Tiffany get buck with her up back was just like, yes. And then Joe Tessitore on commentary was just like, oh, it's a battle of the blondes in Barcelona. And I was just like, see, that's the alliteration that I live for. But they kept fighting, they kept tussling, and then I got irritated at the referees and security breaking them up because I'm just like, let them fight. Just let them go. Let them go. And they kept fighting and kept fighting. And then at one point, you had Tiffany hit a great swanton onto Charlotte and the rest of the crew. Like, it was just this was just nuts. Tiffany is nuts, okay? She does not care about flying in the air and jumping on somebody. And then the idea that she not only did this one time, she did it twice. She jumped off of the Tron as the fight kept going on. Um, as the fight kept going on during Miz TV, the Miz came out there to have his interview with Cody Rhodes, and then all of a sudden you see Tiffany and Charlotte still fighting each other. And it was just nuts. So I'm just like, okay, so y'all just gonna keep fighting each other, keep beating up on each other while this man is trying to host this show. But it was refreshing because usually you see the men interrupting the women's time. And for years, we've had to deal with the men interrupting the women's time. I think there has only been so few times I could probably count on my hand where the women have interrupted the men. So the idea that this happened during this segment made me glad. I was like, yes. And Tiffany has no fear. So because she has no fear, from jumping off of this Titantron onto Charlotte and the rest of the guys and girls that were trying to like get a hold of her, I have now dubbed her Tiffany Hardy. She is a Hardy sister. I've officially adopted her. She is no longer Tiffany Stratton. She is Tiffany Hardy. She's jumping off of things. She's jumping off of Tron. She's jumping off of ladders. That's us. So this segment was amazing. Just give us more of them fighting, and I'm good. So, yeah, this was awesome. Then, of course, when it came to the women, we had an interview with Kathy Kelly and Jade Cargill. Now, Jade was over here in this interview, talking about how she was trying to recover and her emotions and recover physically from getting jumped by Naomi. And she talked about how when she came to, she didn't realize it was Naomi until she saw her back, walking away. And she was heartbroken because they were sisters. And she also mentioned feeling a certain type of way about Bianca even teaming with her after that. But the thing I'm trying to figure out is Jade, it's not like Bianca knew that Naomi attacked her, right? Right? Like that really freaked me out when she said that. But clearly Jade is really like in a sad, state of emotions. But in the midst of her being sad and talking about how she felt, you have Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez coming out here talking about yelling at Jade saying, well, if you knew it was Naomi, then how come you never called and told Bianca? Because they were blaming us for weeks. Now, mind you, they do have a legitimate gripe. I can't take that away from them. They have a right to be mad about that. But at the same time, this wasn't the time to do it. This was not the time to do it during Jade's exclusive interview. And you were taking time away from having her talk. And I was just like, girl, why are you in this? Because if it's already being solidified that Naomi did it, Naomi confessed to doing it, you didn't do it, why are you interrupting Jade? I just feel like Liv was just picking a fight with her because she has nobody else to fight with at this point. So this is going to lead into this coming Friday. They're going to have a match against each other, and I can't wait. And I just want Jade to just kick her in her mouth, because she just deserves it at this point. So yeah, Jade, please just kick her in the face. But then when it comes to the women, we had Zelina Vega, trying to throw her hat in the ring for the United States, for the Women's United States Championship, currently being held by Chelsea Green. But of course, she has to get through one half of Chelsea Green's Secret Hervis, in Piper Niven. And I think this is interesting because this is like sort of like a rematch, um, of their Queen of the Ring match because of course, Zelina Vega is the first ever Queen of the Ring in WWE and she beat Piper Niven in order to do it. Even though she was known as Dewdrop then, she beat Piper Niven for it. So I feel like it's interesting that now Zelina has to go through the same woman who she defeated, to become Queen of the Ring to get her chance at singles gold in WWE. So I'm really pumped about that. I can't wait to see how that turns out. I want Zelina Vega to have gold this year. And I feel like this really can be the time if they do it right. So I'm really excited. Go Z, go. Please do it. Do it, my queen from Queens. Do it. So yeah, and that's pretty much all I like from the women on SmackDown. I think I wish I could have found a picture of Damian Priest's T-shirt because I did like the T-shirt he had on where he had a picture of himself on a tarot card and it said the punishment. But there is something I do need to address when it comes to the beef that he's got going on with Drew McIntyre. Drew had a whole segment where he was talking about how Damian Priest benefited from all the times he got screwed out of his opportunities by CM Punk. And because Damian Priest benefited from it, he now wants to come after him. And that made me upset because number one, you sound unhinged. And number two, you're making it seem like Damian was just supposed to walk away during those times of which his title was on the line, or during those times in which he could have cashed in on winning the title at WrestleMania like he did. Like you're making it seem like because you got beat up and because of your beef with CM Punk that he wasn't supposed to take that opportunity to save what he had going on. And that made me upset cuz I'm just like Drew McIntyre, how many fingers are you going to point before you realize that the problem is you. How many people are you going to blame until you finally realize that you are the problem? You are the anti hero. You are the villain in your story. Your worst enemy is you. So, for the life of me, it just keeps upsetting me to see him constantly starting beefs with people who are only doing what they need to do in the spirit of competition. And when Damian Priest cashed in his money in the bank briefcase on you, that wasn't him being malicious. That was him taking the opportunity. It's competition. It's money in the bank. That's how that works. Oh, but does the money in the bank only work when it's in your hands and not when it's in anybody else's? It's okay when you do, but it's a problem when anybody else does it. That don't make good walk around sense. It really don't. And I'm tired. I'm gonna need for Drew and Damien to possibly have a stipulation if they gonna fight at WrestleMania and destroy each other, because I'm getting so sick and tired of Drew McIntyre blaming everybody else for his problems. I'm just really tired of it. It's like you blame CM Punk, you blame Seth Rollins, you blame Roman Reigns, you blame the Bloodline, you blame Damien. Baby, somebody lock him up with a therapist. Lock him up with a therapist, send him to church so he can realize and do some self work, because him blaming everybody else is just getting tired. I'm really tired of it. I'm really tired of it. Also, we saw Randy Orton come in at the beginning of the episode of SmackDown with his wife, and I screamed because I love Kim Orton. I love Kim. Like anytime, like I remember when she was on the episode of Table for Three with I believe it was Kurt Angle's wife and somebody else's wife. But when I tell you she was the life of the party for me, I love her. I love Kim Orton, and I would love to have more Kim Orton content because she is just so amazing and just full of life. And I love that her and Randy Orton found each other and they love each other so much. So I popped really big for Kim. I was just like, oh, it's Kim. Like, I love her. So yeah, she's great. And Randy Orton is great at this stage too, even though I was scared that he was gonna punt my boy Carmelo. Oh my god. This match that they had was amazing. It was a really good match. You know, the idea that they had this match against each other, even though Carmelo was kind of being disrespectful at the beginning. He was just like, let's do a handshake. He was like, nope. And I was like, oh, Mello, no. Oh my God. Carmelo is such a heel and I love him. But but either way, this match was fire. The way that they performed was amazing. They adapted to each other well. But in the end, Carmelo lost, and I was sad about it. But what made me even scarier was just the fact that I really thought that Randy Orton was about to punt him. I was like, please don't punt him. Don't punt my Milo, please, please, no. But he didn't get a chance to because Carmelo rolled out of the ring, and then Kevin Owens popped up, and you know Randy Orton and Kevin got their problems, so Carmelo didn't get punted, and I was happy about that. So, oh, thank God. But I want to know who is this number 4 person. 4 is my favorite number. Um, I want to know who this is. Who could it be? Who are you? I guess we'll figure out pretty soon. And then Axiom got to perform in Spain. That was really amazing because I was wondering what Gunter, the World Heavyweight Champion, was doing on SmackDown, where normally he's on Raw. I was just like, okay, so what is he doing here? Like, I understand it's an international thing, but I was like, what are you doing here? And then up pops Axiom, and then everybody in Spain pops because, of course, Axiom, who was formerly known as A Kid in NXT UK, is the first Spanish wrestler from Spain to get signed to WWE. So the fact that one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions got to face off against Gunther was absolutely fantastic, even though he lost, which made me sad. But either way, I was just glad that he got that opportunity. Like this whole match was definitely giving NXT UK vibes, and I loved it. And then finally, you have the Street Profits getting tag team gold. Yes. I was so happy for them. I was just like, yes, Street Profits. Y'all locked in. Y'all got y'all grills put in and decided that they was gonna jump everybody in order to get what's rightfully theirs. And they got their first tag team title reign since 2020. I was so happy because out of all of they've had so many stops and starts over the past couple of years. And then even with Montez having stops and starts, or with him being sort of fed the notion that he could have possibly had a singles career, but then, they kept him with Angelo and stuff like that. There's just been so many like hiccups with them. And so the idea that they were able to get the tag team titles back made me so glad. And I hope they have a really long title reign because it's been sort of on the struggle bus when it comes to black men in WWE lately. So the idea that they now got these titles just makes me so happy, and I hope that they can just run with them and have a long, long run with them, and just continue to just prosper no matter what it is that they choose to do. So I was happy as heck that they won. So yay, Street Profits! I'm so glad. So, and also lastly, with along with Montez's prayers, yes, Jacob Fatu is another person who deserves the world. That man is not to be played with ever. He is not to be played with ever, and I'm just happy that he exists. So yeah. That's all I liked in wrestling this week. So yeah, if there's anything else that you liked in wrestling this week, don't hesitate to reach out and tell me. If you have not said it in the comments, or if you see me sharing either one of these clips from this episode, please share it. And of course, we've reached the end of our time together. Thank you guys so much for watching me live, for listening to the show later on. Um, Always know that you can catch the Hardy Wrestling Podcast everywhere you get your podcast audio wise on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, um, I already say Spotify? I think I already did say Spotify, but yeah, you can listen to it there. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel, which you can catch all the episodes there. We're trying to get up to 500 subscribers, so please, please, please subscribe and tell your friends to give my show a chance if you haven't already. And also follow your girl on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can also follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. You can also check out my writings, my editorial writings on Daily DDT. I'm writing and working on new stuff almost all the time. So please check out all of my articles that I've written because I've gotten up to 20 articles with them. And I'm very happy about that. I'm thankful to have that platform to share my thoughts. And also just book your girl if you're interested in having me as a ring announcer, as a commentator, or as a panelist for either one of your wrestling things, just email me or DM me and I will definitely answer and we can work on things. Or if you want to be interviewed on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, you can reach out and email me at hardywrestlingpodcast at gmail.com and I'll be sure to get back to you, or DM me and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. So yeah, your girl is out here and we are trying to be a positive force in wrestling. So just continue to support your girl in that. So of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the girl Stephanie Hardy. Have a fantastic week. And until next time, bye y'all.